Welcome to Ask Fear and Greed, where we take your questions and do our best to answer them. I'm Michael Thompson, and good afternoon, Sean Aylmer.
Good afternoon, Michael.
Sean, today's question comes from Mick, and he sent it in via the website. He went along to fearandgreed.com.au and sent his question in there. You can also do it via LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook and a bunch of other ways. But Mick says, "Hi team, you guys do a great job and I listen every day." I've got to include this part, Sean, because I love it. He says, "Sometimes I force my teenage kids to listen to the weekend edition when we are stuck in the car together. As you can imagine, they do not love this, but I'm driving so they can suffer in their jocks." I just love that because it's got so much colour to
suffer
it.
In their jocks, yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like everyone should be forcing their family to listen to the weekend edition. I do that with my own family. Anyway, on with the question. Mick says, "I have a question for Ask Fear and Greed, and it should be an easy one for Sean."
Oh, Mick, put the mockers on me. Go on.
This is setting you up. "Can you explain share buybacks in simple words?" Mick says, "I tried to Google it, but I can't work out why the percentage share of the existing shareholders goes up if the company buys back shares." I agree. It sounds like an easy one for Sean. Go for it.
Absolutely. Too easy for me to answer. Let's just move on, shall we?
Yeah.
No?
Well done. Thanks, Mick, for your question. Anyway, go for it.
Off we go. It's a good question. Why does a company do a share buyback? Let's start there. Well, when a company has a bunch of cash, what can it do? It can spend it. It might be able to buy an asset. It might give a special dividend or increase its dividends so shareholders get money back that way. Or one that they often do, many companies often do, and companies are always doing these rolling share buybacks. And what they are doing is literally going to the market and buying back their shares. The best way to explain how they work is using an example. Let's say there's 1,000 shares out there and a company says, "I'm going to buy back 10% of my shares." They literally go to the market and buy back 10% of shares. So they end up with 900 shares, right? 900 shares, they're still making the same amount of money. So let's say they're making $10,000 every year. That means they're making $10 per share on 1,000 shares. On 900 shares, it means they're making $11 or thereabouts per share. So earnings per share increases. So the value of your share should increase. The whole idea of share buybacks is when a company buys back more shares, those still holding on to those shares, the value of that share goes up by that 10%, let's say. Now, academic research doesn't suggest that this always happens that way, but there are a bunch of other factors, the economy, what's happening in the market, competitors, all sorts of things, which makes it a bit difficult to judge exactly the impact of the share buyback versus everything else. Companies do it regularly enough, though, to suggest that they must work. Now, that second part, I can't work out why percent share of existing shareholders goes up if the company buys back shares. I think what Mick's getting to there is if 1,000 shares an issue, I own 10 shares, 10 on 1,000. They buy back 100. I don't partake in that, so I keep my shares. I don't sell them back to the company or anything like that. Well, then I own 10 shares in 900 shares after the buyback is complete. Therefore, my percentage of ownership of that company actually rises. So that's what share buybacks are about. Yeah, and that's kind of why theoretically fewer shares on offer, it shouldn't hurt earnings. It's not an earnings thing. It's actually just shares on offer. So your share should be worth more, and that's how it works out.
But why does that benefit the company then? I don't understand that part. And I know you said that there really isn't kind of a lot of the academic research behind it, but why were they choosing that instead of, say, using that additional money to go and invest further in expanding the company, for instance?
Okay. Two parts to that. The company is the shareholders, right? The company is just this structure, but the beneficial owners are the shareholders. So it is benefiting the company, i.e. the shareholders. The second part of that is why do it that way? Why not give a special dividend? Why not go and buy some other company that might make you more money in the future? There's always this argument that boards can be lazy and just do share buybacks or special dividends rather than looking for new investments. Maybe, but it depends what industry you're in. If you're in a tech industry and you're probably always trying to grab assets, they're less likely to do a share buyback. If you're in oil and gas, though, maybe you are more likely to do share buyback because you don't want to buy any more of those assets. Or if you're transitioning, you're never doing a share buyback, you're going to end up buying renewable energy. So it's really a strategic decision from the board and management about the best way to use the excess money they've got sitting there.
Because the banks have been doing it a lot, haven't they?
Yeah. So if you're, the banks have. I mean, there's a lot of companies that do it. With the banks, it's hard for Commonwealth Bank, Westpac, National Australia Bank. Well, ANZ has just done this, so this is an exception to the rule. If they go and buy assets, what are they going to buy? Now, ANZ bought Suncorp, so the business part of that. So, the banking part of Suncorp. So that's where that comes into it. But Commonwealth Bank, Westpac, maybe they don't actually want to buy another asset. They can do special dividends, and they've actually done a lot of special dividends in recent years, or they can buy back shares. In the end, it is beneficial to the shareholder, which is the company, or who are the company.
Look, you know what? I reckon Mick was right. I reckon Mick was right in saying you could do this one because you've just done
Very
it.
generous.
I've asked you a couple of extra questions, additional ones, just completely without notice. And you know, I'm going to give you a mark out of 20 today. I'm going to give you a 17 and a half.
Wow. On the Michael Thompson scale of marking, that is pretty spectacular. And I'd like to say, for those listeners like Mick who listen to the weekend edition, right, special treat tomorrow because Michael's been away. He's just back today. He is going to be the judge against Adam and I expect those 7.5 out of 20s to be coming through thick and fast. I bet they don't.
Oh, it is going to be savage. I've been looking forward to this opportunity for a very long time. I shall be introducing demerit points and a whole bunch of other things. There is going to be melodrama like you have never experienced it before, and that's going to be from the judge. So it's going to be quite the event. Look, Mick, thank you very much for your question, and Sean, thank you for answering it so admirably.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Mick.
And if you have your own question, then jump onto the website fearandgreed.com.au and you can send it through there or go to LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook and we shall pop your question on the list and get to it soon. I'm Michael Thompson and this is Ask Fear and Greed.